You would think that the directorial debut of Warner Brothers' top horror screenwriter, he's done such a good job for the studio, that's why he got to direct this movie, which he also wrote, by the way, but you would think that that directorial debut would have a better screenplay. But you would be wrong! Perhaps Gary Dauberman was so focused on leveling up to director that he forgot how important it is to have a solid foundation for a movie, which is the screenplay. And you would think as a screenwriter, he wouldn't forget that. But maybe, again, he was just so excited to become a director. But then where were the producers and the studio, etc.? A lot of movie making is a team business, and a lot of people have to sign off on this stuff. And I don't know. I'm surprised that this is as lazy as it is. It's like, what's going on here? Do you have that little respect for us, right? Or, are you guys just in a rush? Was this like something that was like, you're just so busy these days? We'll never know. But I would say that Annabelle Comes Home is less of a story and more of an excuse for a whole bunch of elegant, to be fair, elegant and highly atmospheric jump scares. I do like the time period. I like it being a period piece. It actually, a couple of times during this movie, reminded me of The Exorcist, which I don't think quite holds up, to be honest with you. I think it was more shocking at the time that it was released. Today, nothing is sacred, so, it's a different situation. The Exorcist, if you haven't seen it, is very religious-based. It's things you simply did not do in the 70s. Anyway, by the way, watch Good Omens. It's very good. And I would also say that Annabelle Comes Home is more like walking through a top-notch haunted house attraction rather than watching a movie. And that has its fun. So you'll see later on whether or not I think you should actually watch this movie. I don't want to trash Annabelle Comes Home, but let's just say I'm disappointed in Annabelle Comes Home. I'm going to give it a guilt trip. All right. So, because as much as I love the Conjuring Universe, even I got a bit bored watching this movie. I was like, yeah, jump scare. Because, I've defended the Conjuring Universe in the past when some of you were like, it's just a bunch of jump scares, Grace. And in fact, watching this movie, I was like, maybe it is. Because there is no intriguing mystery to this ghost story. And the mysteries, by the way, are right there. Because at one point in the movie, our little sleepover party decides to raid the Warrens' case files. They do so many dumb things during this movie. My audience was groaning left and right, but very engaged. And it's like, instead of skimming over all these really interesting case files, why don't we pick one and run with it? But unfortunately, we never do, for any length of time. They just kind of dabble in each case. At least not here. I am sure that Warner Brothers and James Wan feel that each of these cases is a potential spin-off movie. And I agree with some of the comments that I've seen that I guess if I had to pick one of them to make their own movie, it would be The Bride. A gruesome bride is hard to resist, but for that reason, there have been a lot of gruesome brides already. One is the focal point of many a haunted house, a haunted mansion attraction at the Disney theme parks. And I always enjoy it there. But here, since she's haunting the exact same hallways, it just reminded me a little bit too much of The Nun, especially without any backstory to who the bride is and how that wedding dress became so haunted. And I was like, oh, it's the dress, not the bride? That's an interesting distinction. I want to know more. And the movie never told me more. However, I would say overall, when it comes to spin-offs with the Conjuring Universe, I don't know how much more diluting that this franchise can take. And on that note, Annabelle Comes Home is at its best when Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are front and center. They are both such talented, nuanced, and likable actors, and they take their roles and the material so seriously that they can't help but elevate it whenever they're on screen. Also, the contrast of their warmth and goodness to the cold and evil of the spirits that, let's say they're pursuing. I don't really think they would think of themselves as hunting them because they are trying to do, again, good. But that contrast, I think, has emerged over the course of the franchise as the true strength of it, and that continues to be the case in this movie as well. But Wilson and Farmiga only cameo here. They have a really fun opening sequence that cleverly teases the audience, like a little wink and a nudge. They know. I think they acknowledge some of the, tricks and, sleight of hands that have become the trademark of the Conjuring movies. I respect their lack of dependence on VFX, but there are a couple of times where I was like, yeah, I get it, when she leans her head just a little bit more forward, and when she leans back, the ghost won't be there anymore because the actor was able to easily walk off screen at that moment when you cued them. You're starting to see the nuts and bolts behind the scenes maybe a little bit too much, I think, at this point, especially, again, with no story to distract me. Like, that's a cool priest haunting the school, but what's his story? We never find out, and that also to me is frustrating. But watching this movie, I was like, man, I'm excited for The Conjuring 3, and thankfully it's filming right now to be released next year. So for this movie, that leaves us with the Warrens' daughter, played by Mckenna Grace, who's getting an awful lot of work lately. In fact, she's going to be in the new Ghostbusters movie. She's the star. But I think she's a talented actress, and I think she has some really nice moments here, and I've enjoyed her in the past. But she remains to me a quirky yet distant actress. She's like a junior Kristen Ritter, but without any of Kristen Ritter's sassy fun, which is what totally makes Kristen Ritter pop and stand out. And on that note, Ritter, who needs a job, really should see about playing the Warrens' daughter all grown up, continuing their work. I'd see that movie. That's the thing. I'm like, slow it down, Conjuring Universe. But again, if they had the stories to weigh down and anchor these spin-offs, I think it would go much better. This is just like so flimsy. It's just more of an excuse of a movie. I could read ghost stories forever. I'm a big ghost story fan, and that's one of the things I think I like about this franchise so much. So for it to lose that element to me seems crazy. Now, back to the actors. Madison Eastman and Katie Seraph both do nice work as McKenna Grace's babysitter and the babysitter's bad influence friend. Jamie Kennedy would be having an aneurysm watching her on screen. She does everything wrong. However, I think the real standout of the teen cast is Michael Camino, who steals all his scenes as the awkward but charming teenage boy who lives across the street. Also, the pizza delivery guy, that was fantastic. The guy had like one scene, 5 lines. Nailed him. Wow. If I was his agent, I'd be like, you did it. Good job. I'm going to send this to everybody. Now, I did appreciate, though, that Seraph's Daniela wasn't just a two-dimensional character, but instead it was revealed had legit and I think sympathetic motivations for her oh-so-stupid actions. Should you see, as I said we'd talk about it, should you see Annabelle Comes Home? Well, if you're looking for a fun scare, sure, why not, right? And it was fun going to see this movie with an audience, I have to tell you. There was one group that wanted to be scared and yelled way too loudly at all the jump scares, at least at the beginning of the movie, which made them even scarier. You'd be like, why are you screaming like that? And they would laugh, and it was kind of fun. And then also, one annoying character was almost killed, and the audience cheered. There was also a funny interaction where they were like, you've seen it in the trailer, like Annabelle needs a soul, and some of the audience was like, take that one, one of the characters, and everyone laughed. And then when something happened to that character, the audience cheered, only to then collectively groan when it was revealed that character was okay for the time being. Don't want to give any spoilers away. And also a few things were shattered at the screen throughout the movie, which I felt added to the experience. It was a fun movie to see with a group. Also, as I said, the Conjuring Universe remains elegant and highly atmospheric, and I appreciate that. And there was an opening crawl this time around that I thought was used pretty nicely. Very nice effect. And also it had that Exorcist kind of lettering. I thought that was great. And this is much better than The Curse of La Llorona, which I likened to a student film. Annabelle Comes Home is definitely a professional production. But going forward, I hope that Warner Brothers, Wan, Dauberman, and anyone else working on this franchise remember that what really makes a horror movie stick is a really good story. Just ask Jordan Peele, right? And Annabelle Comes Home, unfortunately, does not have one. So that's my review of Annabelle Comes Home. What do you think? Do you think they should keep making so many Conjuring movies? My personal vote is that they maybe just stick to ones focusing on the Warrens for the time being. And maybe that Kristen Ritter one, right? So again, share your thoughts down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.